We've looked at the successes, the failures, the challenges, but what lies ahead? What must we preserve to keep America going?
The Constitution is essential to the future of the American dream because the Constitution is the United States. The United States does not exist without this document. This document sets the rules for the road. And if that document stays more or less intact as it is, that is what defends our liberty.
Why is it that other places in the world did not come up with the iPhone or an Elon Musk? You find them in America.
Our system allows that. It doesn't matter what you want to do, but be the best you can be at it.
The American story is not over. On the contrary, if we do our part, it's only just begun. As we close out this journey together, let's take the time to examine what is asked of us to keep the American dream alive. I say to you today, my friends, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Martin Luther King Jr. The American dream is more than just material wealth. It's starting a family, building a business, pursuing a passion, or developing new relationships and goals. Most importantly, it is defending the personal liberty that has made this nation the unparalleled success it is today.
The United States is the most successful multi-ethnic country in global history. What a contribution to the world. I mean, China's growing, but if you're not Chinese, you're not going to take part in that system. Yes, we have our problems, but you're not going to be able to find today or in history a country that has brought so many people of various backgrounds to create something together that is so impactful.
You're not entitled to anything. You must work hard. You can accomplish anything you want in this country, but you must put in the work.
Elon Musk's space shuttle was just an idea until he had the American ingenuity to make it happen. And whether it's a space shuttle or whether it's someone who's just opened up a new business on the corner, even though you may not be able to see what your dream is, you know that if in fact you dream long enough in America, you can make that happen.
Every generation has to take a look at the institutions, whether they're cultural, whether they're educational, whether they're political, whether they're economic, and it has to adjust those institutions for the world that they live in. That's kind of our challenge right now.
Winston Churchill famously said, "The main vice of capitalism is the uneven distribution of prosperity. The main vice of socialism is the equal distribution of misery." There is not a socialist country in the world that's more successful than the United States.
In the Constitution, it takes time to pass a law. It has to go through the House and through the Senate, and then it is signed by the President, and it's all very cumbersome. But that's on purpose, because the idea is to slow things down so that people have time to deliberate and come to a reasoned consensus. Americans become a people that reflexively and instinctively turn to persuasion to solve a problem rather than force. And that's not always the case throughout human history, and it isn't the case in other parts of the world today.
But the American values of persuasion and dialogue seem to have faded today. We don't talk to each other. We demonize. Yet being the United States means remaining united with our fellow Americans, even if we disagree on politics.
When I was growing up in Ohio, I had these incredible uncles, and I used to show up at their house on the weekends and they would play horseshoes. And these folks were Union hardcore Democrats. They also were veterans. They fought in World War II, and they were some of those patriotic people. And that's what I grew up with. It was the one thing we could all agree on, right? Was the American flag and the values that this country held.
In order for us to have the right conversation, we must be able to talk to each other and hear each other, whether we agree or not. I still want you to hear what I'm saying, and I want to hear what you're saying. That's the only way that we're able to come to a bridge. And if you're truly someone who is not enjoying the American spirit and the American way of prosperity, maybe you should have a conversation with somebody who doesn't look like you. Maybe you should expand your horizons.
These divisions shape how our government operates and get in the way of real political progress. More often than not, the focus isn't on the well-being of American citizens.
Policymaking, at the end of the day, is about, are we improving people's access to meritocracy? Are we improving people's chances to dream? Unfortunately, too often, politics becomes this insider game here in Washington or in a state capitol. They lose sight of what they're really trying to do here.
A lot of times, a lot of members spend way too much time here in Washington. They need to go back to the districts that they represent.
We should have a government that gets out of the way of the good behavior, that incentivizes and provides opportunity, and let the American spirit thrive.
If you've ever talked to politicians or Congress critters, they don't knock you over with their brilliance. This whole idea that there's some government solution to our problems as a society is mistaken.
Despite the rhetoric we hear, it is not the government that provides solutions to our problems. It is individuals using their own talents and resources to make their communities a better place.
You know, American young people are filled with optimism and filled with spirit and drive. We need to nurture that. We need to inspire that. We need to provide role models that show opportunity that America provides.
I'm very involved with scholarships for young kids of adversity. Many of these kids don't have parents. They watch their parents shoot the other parent and siblings, horrible things. But they have maintained their view that the American dream is alive. I'm going to get educated. They get themselves through high school. The least we can do is find a way to help them. We ask the kids each year, what are the things that our generation has done that you don't understand and why they haven't been fixed? The number one response from these kids every year is, how have you allowed welfare to trap so many generations of people? And don't you realize that you're not helping people? Because they're coming from that world and they think it's a disaster. They recognize helping hands, they recognize those things are good, but teaching people to be unmotivated is harmful to them, not helpful.
My wife and I has as part of our Carson Scholars where we put these reading rooms in all over the country. The data shows us that if a child can read at grade level by grade 3, it changes the trajectory of their lives. You know, I was fortunate as a youngster that my mother emphasized the library. Even though we were very poor, could never afford to do anything that cost money. You could go to the library, it was free of charge, and there were all these books, and it just opened up the whole world to me.
The divisions in this country may seem too deep to come back from. The hopelessness we feel may be overwhelming, but now is not the time to give up on the American dream.
When we study Yorktown, we hear that General George Washington defeats the British and the war is over. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It was actually more complicated than that. The British were blocked in by the French Navy, who then sailed away. The British are occupying New York City. They're occupying Charleston, South Carolina, the two most important ports in the entire colony. His army still broke. They're still out of resources. When Yorktown, the battle was over, Washington had no idea that he won the war. It's only in history that we have the luxury to go back and read our books and say, hey, you won the war, man, congratulations, high five. But he didn't know that. Even when we think that things are bad, even when there's discord, we may actually already be entering into the new phase. So the lesson here is, you never ever give up. And if you ever lose your sense of optimism, that is the one way you're guaranteed to lose.
We have overcome what no other nation has ever overcome. And so when you look at America in its entirety, you have to look at the good, the bad, the ugly, the strong, the weak, all of the adventures, all of the journeys, the tragedies that have brought us to this point. And then I think if you are looking at the American perspective in the right frame, you are looking at a nation that is truly a nation of victors.
America was born of a revolutionary idea, self-healed from serious injustice, built a new world through the value of meritocracy, and invited those who share her vision to take part in her success. Our challenges ahead may be great, but if we keep the American dream alive, we will ensure greater opportunities for our posterity. So what happens now? Will you stand up and do your part? Will you believe in America?